Hello again, my name's John. I'm a retired cook from the northeast of England in the UK, and welcome to my latest bread video. With things the way they are with this awful coronavirus, I hope everyone is staying safe and well. I've made this recipe up for a quick white loaf, and to save on bread flour, which is in short supply at the moment, I'll be using half bread flour and half plain or all-purpose flour. And also, this is a no-knead recipe. You can view the ingredients list and full written method for this recipe on the recipe page on the channel's website. I'll leave a link in the description under the video, or you can click on the eye icon top right of the screen to take you directly to the recipe page. Before I go any further, I'd like to give a quick shout out to this week's Patreon and PayPal donators, and they are Judy Yap, Marcia Beaulieu, Paul, Isabel Wilson, Scott Gibson, David Long, John Ham, Colette McIntosh, Teresa Horton, Robert Wiley, Andrew Bloom, Brian Gimson, Kenneth Carper and Michelle Perron. Thanks again guys, I really do appreciate all your support. And with that out of the way, let's get on with today's recipe. Okay, the first job is to grease a 2 pound, that's a 900 gram loaf tin. The dimensions of the tin that I'm using are on screen. I'm using a little lard to do mine, but butter or shortening will do the same job. And once that's done, just set it aside until it's needed. Time to weigh off the ingredients for this very quick and easy white loaf. Anybody can make this one. And as always, you really should use scales for this. It's much more accurate. And like I said at the beginning, to save on bread flour, I'm making this white loaf with 50% bread flour and 50% plain, or you may know that as all-purpose flour. Right, that's 215 grams or 7.5 ounces of each flour. And the full ingredients list and written method is on the recipe page on the channel's website. Look for the link in the description box under the video. Next ingredient is the salt, followed by 250 grams, that's 250 mils of water. And once again, this is much more accurate if you weigh your water too. Some measuring jugs can be miles out. Always try to use bottled or filtered water if you can. To test that the yeast is alive and well, I'm using a teaspoon of sugar in this recipe. And the yeast I'm using is instant yeast, but you can use active dried yeast as well. If you're using fresh yeast, you'll need 25 grams. And the final ingredient to weigh off is the fat. I'm using vegetable oil, but you can't use softened butter or lard. Now on to making the dough. Start by testing your yeast. Heat your water up to about 40 Celsius, that's 104 Fahrenheit. Now mix in your sugar until it's dissolved. If you don't have a thermometer, stick your finger in the water, and if it's comfortably warm, it's okay. If it's too hot for your finger, it will kill the yeast. And now add the yeast and give that a good mix until it's all dissolved. Now if you're using butter or lard instead of oil, you can now dice it up into small pieces and add it to the warm water and let it soften up in there. It won't do the yeast any harm. Now set that aside for 10 minutes until it foams up. Time to put it all together. Now to a nice warm bowl, add your flour and mix in the salt. Time to add your yeast mixture, and as you can see, my yeast is alive and kicking and ready to go. Now I'll add that to the flour. And make sure that it all goes in. And the final ingredient to go in is the oil. And with my trusty wooden spoon handle, I'll mix it all together. You can use a stand mixer to do this part, but it only takes about 90 seconds, so it's hardly worth getting your machine out for. Now a lot of people will probably ask in the comments, can you use 100% plain or all-purpose flour for this easy bread recipe? Well, you can, but it's not ideal, as the finished bread will be denser and on the heavy side, because it simply doesn't have the full required protein count that bread flour has. Don't forget to scrape down the sides of the bowl. And to finish it off, it's easier if you get your hand in and bring it all together. And remember, this is a no knead recipe, so you don't have to go too far with it. Once the dough is in one piece, lift it out and add a little oil to the bowl, about a half teaspoon, and coat the sides with it. This is just to allow the dough to release after the first rise. Now get the dough ball into the bowl and give it a coating of the oil. Now cover the bowl and get it into a warm spot for 30 to 60 minutes, or until it is at least doubled in size. Now a few of my regular viewers will have noticed I haven't posted a video for a couple of weeks now, and that's because my 10-year-old cooker decided to completely break down, and the cost of repairing it wasn't worth it. So it had to go. And this is my new baby. It's only got installed yesterday, so I'm still finding my way around it. One feature that the old one didn't have was the ability to just put the bulb on in the main oven, which is ideal for proofing dough. So in it goes, and the first proof should take around 30 to 60 minutes depending on the temperature of your kitchen. And while that's proofing in the oven, I hope you don't mind if I give my very first recipe book a bit of a plug. The book has lots of our favourite recipes from our work kitchens in it, and is available in the channel's website shop, along with loads of other equipment I use in the videos. It's just another way you can support the channel. I'll leave a link in the description box below the video, or just click on the eye icon top right of your screen if you want to order a copy today. Okay, the dough has been proofing for the last 40 minutes, and as you can see, it's just about doubled in size. Next step is to turn it out onto a floured surface and sprinkle a little flour on the dough. And because I oiled the bowl, it should slip out nice and easily. Now start to knock the dough back, and that simply means knock all the gas out of it. And once it's gasless, for want of a better word, form it into a sausage shape as shown. So far so good. Now place it into the prepared loaf tin and press it down slightly. Now for the final proof in the tin, what you can do is sprinkle a little flour over the top of the dough, and with a lightweight dry cloth leave it in a warm spot until it rises about an inch above the top of the tin. Or what I like to do, if you've seen my other sandwich loaf video, is to get it into my makeshift proofing box. All this is a large plastic container with a damp cloth in the bottom. Just place the tin inside, and then you float the box in a sink of warm water. Now I'll put the lid on with a weight on top of that, and that creates the perfect environment for proofing dough. The damp cloth inside keeps the atmosphere nice and moist, which prevents the surface of the dough from drying out. Now I'll set the timer for 30 minutes. And the water in the sink, as you can see, is around 40 degrees Celsius, that's 104 Fahrenheit. When there's only 10 minutes left on your rise, preheat your oven to 190 degrees Celsius, that's 375 Fahrenheit, or gas mark 5. Once the time's up, especially if you're doing it this way in a proofing box, the dough should have risen to about an inch above the top of the tin after 30 minutes. If you're not using this method, your time may vary depending on the temperature of your kitchen, but doing it this way gives you more control over your rise. Now I'll carefully lift it out and place it on the bench for a moment. To give the finished bread a bit of a professional look, I'll dust a little flour over the top of the loaf. Now I'll get it into the preheated oven and set the timer for 30 minutes. After the 30 minutes is up, carefully remove it from the oven and take it out of the tin straight away. Now you can call it done at this point, or what I like to do is get it back into the oven for a further 5 minutes to crisp up the edges a bit more. So back it goes, commando style, for a further 5 minutes. And that final 5 minutes is up, so I'll take it out of the oven and place it on a wire rack and let it cool for about 30 minutes. And then I'll come back, cut a couple of slices off and let you see what it's like on the inside. And of course, have a little taste. Right, it's only been about 15 minutes because the smell of freshly baked bread in my kitchen is overpowering. And I've got to try some now. As you can hear, it's very crispy. And the crumb inside looks soft and light. With this being a very quick loaf, the texture of the crumb isn't as close and firm as bread that has been kneaded and allowed to slowly rise for 2 or 3 times. But it's a very good compromise for those who want a quick, easy and cheap loaf of bread in a hurry. And this is how I'll be making our family bread for the duration of this coronavirus isolation situation we all have to be going through at the moment. Right, enough of that. Time to add a little butter and have a taste. And that simply is a wonderful loaf of bread. It tastes fantastic, it's good texture and very easy and cheap to make. And it'll help your bread flour go a lot further. And I hope you try this. So a big thumbs up and stay safe everyone. Well, thank you again for watching. Please like, share, comment and subscribe by hitting the circle above. If you do subscribe, activate the bell icon next to the subscribe button on my channel page. And by doing that, you'll be automatically notified every time I upload a new video. And in the meantime, here's a few of my other videos and playlists that you may want to watch. So, until the next time, be safe in the kitchen and bye for now.